Welcome back to Unspoken Knowledge. I'm Meg Wilson with SPKN, the Sport Professional Knowledge Network, where sport knowledge is spoken. Today I'm sitting down with Rick Seigmund, a former federal law enforcement agent and co-founder of Warriors Rise.
We're so excited to get started. Tell me a little bit about Rick growing up.
Wow. Okay, I'm the youngest of four boys in the Seigmund family. I was born in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, but my folks always had property in a place in Tennessee, about 40 miles west of Nashville, a little town called Bon Aqua. Graduated from Dixon County High School, so there's absolutely Southern that will come through. And so Tennessee was great. My dad was a furniture builder, custom millworker, woodworker. And that's what we did growing up. We built things with our hands, and it was great learning in childhood and everything. So after that, I lived a bit of life, tried to do my own thing in Tennessee, and was a little bit wayward back then. And so the summer of Y2K, Meg.
Oh.
Y2K, remember that? Summer 2000. I
do.
packed up my Ford Bronco and I drove west, young man. And I came to California, San Diego specifically. I had some friends that had gone back there because that's where they were from. And I needed to change a pace in my life at that point. And so, I went to San Diego, and San Diego was very good to me. I did custom home building down there for a long time at a pretty high level. And but then growing up, I was very much influenced mostly by what I read. I was the youngest by a lot. My older brothers were gone pretty early. And so, young kid in the middle of the country with a bunch of books. And so I grew up on Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, and a lot of Louis L'Amour Westerns. And so I had a very, very serious perspective on good, bad, right, and wrong, and justice. And I always was drawn to law enforcement. And long story short, I was getting tired of the whole building industry on my end, and I saw an ad for the U.S. Border Patrol, and I was like, I would do that. And anyway, I pursued it and got in, went to FLETC, Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in beautiful Artesia, New Mexico. It's not beautiful.
Interesting.
Yeah. Nothing about it. And had a really great career in the Border Patrol. And I was a line agent. I wasn't anything wildly special in that sense. U.S. Border Patrol is potentially one of the best law enforcement agencies the U.S. has. And because most people don't know what we do. They go through checkpoints, and that's the only time they ever see the patrol. They don't realize that we do more drug interdiction than everybody else put together twice in a year. We do counterterrorism, terrorism intelligence, counterintelligence. We do gang task force. And the main thing that we do is we combat human trafficking. The cartels own
Which is not a small piece.
Not a small piece, no. The cartels absolutely run both sides of the fence on contraband coming into the U.S. as well as the human trafficking. And there's more slavery and human trafficking going on in the world today than has ever in any point in human history. So I really embrace that side. Kids are my line in the sand. I'll die on that hill to protect the innocence of children. And it's insidious. It's insidious and evil. That's the only way I can put it on what the cartels do and the lengths they go to control people and manipulate them simply for profit and gain and control.
Thank you for doing that then.
Thanks.
And now.
There's a bunch of other people still doing it today. So
yeah.
I was just part of that chain.
Yeah.
Lucky to be part of it. After I got out of the patrol, politics were glorious within that. They were not. And so I got fed up, and I realized I didn't need the government to give me a paycheck, so I got out. And I started a security firm. We did both consulting and predominantly in healthcare, which is a really interesting slice of the security pie because they were very interested in active shooter, active killer things. And so we went from the bare bones basics all the way to some pretty advanced concepts in a lot of healthcare, hospital corporations and healthcare agencies all over the U.S. But
usually you don't really think about that when you talk about healthcare.
Well, the highest rate of human violence in all workforce is healthcare. Yeah, it trumps everything else put together.
Amazing.
There's more human-on-human violence in a healthcare setting than any other business you can think of. But you've got to think about it. They have a lot of, people are sick. It's not the best day of their life if they have to go into a clinic or a hospital. Emotions can be high. Financial pressures can be really serious. It's people not on their best day. Plus, you add in the whole thing on drug-seeking population, which has exploded in the last 20 years. More so. You've got a lot of different factors in a healthcare environment. And as you look at business as far as sectors, healthcare has all of them underneath one roof. You've got media, you've got logistics, you've got shipping and receiving, you've got every aspect of any business you can fathom within the healthcare umbrella. So it's a really unique place to serve, but also just simply function in. So we did that at a really...
and that was mainly education.
That was education. That was consulting for healthcare hospitals, teaching their facilities, C-suite, their staff, the basics. We started all the way back on that because there's a pattern to things. Humans make patterns. Who knew? And so you start out with mindset. Bad things can and do happen because, believe it or not, there are people out there who just have their proverbial blinders on and do not think in any way, shape, or form a bad thing will ever happen in their world to them or to people they know. And it's just not true. You have to break people out of that little bitty box. And it's not that we want to promote fear. I actually hate that. I viscerally hate the whole fear hammer that a lot of the security professionals in the world use on their clientele, but you have to acknowledge it, but then you have to give people the tools and the abilities, capabilities, and resources to deal with it, okay? And because I'm a former first responder, and there's a reason they call us first responders. It's not that we don't want to be there to prevent stuff. It's not that we don't want to stop a bad guy from doing somebody harm, but usually we don't get the call till after an event has happened. Yeah. So it's indicative on people in all kinds of environments, not just healthcare, you're your own first responder, like it or not. And the people that you work with, your family sometimes, they're counting on somebody who is at least familiar and aware and has gone through the process of having a plan. And so I did that for a long time, learned a lot through those processes. It's interesting, most issues in healthcare come down to leadership, which we can hit hard coming up. Or lack thereof, lack of proper leadership, understanding and training. But we also did high-level executive protection, which is personal close protection for mostly for C-suite people, corporate executives as they traveled throughout their world and their business life at big meetings they had. So we served also at a really high level in that world, had a lot of fun, learned a lot. And here we are today.
That it? I'm just kidding. It's amazing because thinking
Currently, that's it.
There you go.
Give me a minute.
It's interesting because just like healthcare, you wouldn't think youth sports would be very violent. And yet I've been in the middle of parents, I've been in the middle of two coaches. There's a lot of fighting going on that really is ridiculous. And I hope that doesn't escalate to anything even further.
Young men and women getting a little bit out of control, you don't say.
I don't mean the kids, I mean the parents and the coaches.
Apples and trees, Meg. Apples and trees.
Yeah, so it's amazing to me how much just in my 25 years, how I've noticed the kids change, the coaches change, the pressure that is forcing this in the wrong direction as far as the behavior I'm seeing. So I think it just is seeping into everything.
Interesting. Well, a lot of the inability to cope has really raised its ugly head, and we've seen the same thing on the consulting as well as the protection side, because people just don't have the simple tools to read a situation, de-escalate it, navigate to a better potential. It's just like we're in a very emotional and reactive society at this point, and that's not necessarily a great thing.
Yeah, it's a lot of reacting, not responding.
Correct.
That's how I kind of think about it. I was thinking about these kind of verbal, emotional coach abuse stories, and how it's even happening to very senior coaches, ones that have been very successful in the past. And we talked about this a little bit off camera, but the kids that are coming up in sports these days are a little bit different. So the 1950s coaching skills that we kind of adapted from, because there's no real formal education in coaching, we've adapted it from, oh, I like what that coach did, oh, I don't like what that coach did, and that's, maybe you're lucky and you had a mentor, but that's really how you learn to coach. And I think with the 1950s style of coaching, that these tools and strategies just aren't working anymore. And you see that kind of frustration. It's like, wait a minute, I was really successful. I've got to keep up winning if I'm going to keep my job. Why isn't it working now? And so that frustration is coming out in more yelling, in more, it's, I don't know about you, but when my kids were little, sometimes you just get louder when it's not working. So
volume is a tactic that can be used at some points, but it should not be the overarching principle, right?
No.
Yeah.
But it's totally natural to be frustrated when you're a parent.
It is, and we've seen the same thing. We're in a disconnected world. We can call it out. It's the cell phone culture we live in, and this might be over talked about, but I don't think it's talked about rightly in the context of how you deal with people. And we've seen the same thing. Is people, and not just kids, I'm talking adults, have seemed to have lost their way because we're interacting far more with our phone and media and entertainment and distraction on that. And when we encounter a live human that doesn't necessarily do and act and exist the way that we think that we want them to, people just simply don't have innately the tools that society used to properly portray to people on how to deal with that. We no longer simply disagree and go about our day. It's warfare. Go to Costco once. You will see people on their best and worst day in the world all within about an hour. It's comical. So it's a very interesting place.
And
we're in.
It's not that you need different. It's not just different tools, but it's more tools, and it's a big shift that we have to do as in leadership. Is that what you're seeing?
100%. Absolutely leadership, because what we've seen, and I alluded to healthcare, but law enforcement, the same thing, as well as military. You get people who are world-class tacticians at what they do, right? It's like you've got an incredible tight end or center lineman or whatever they might be. A player, same thing in military. You've got an incredible operations guy. You've got an incredible field agent. And so then it's like, man, Bob is great. We're going to move him up into middle management. Well, Bob's never been a bloody middle manager. Bob's been a great tactician. He's got incredible, potentially very quick mind, very good natural capabilities to move and get things done, the ability to read a situation of what he's used to. That absolutely does not transcend into leading others to do the same thing. Every single time we've seen it almost without fail. And so you have to think these leaders don't understand what being these purported future leaders or potential leaders, they've never been in a situation necessarily where they've been taught leadership, and leadership is a skill that can be taught, and it must, because as we were talking to the cell phone world, these younger generation that is coming up both in the workforce, both on the field for sports and everything, in all walks of life, they don't have the human skill set to interact with and deal in a positive way with other humans. And at the end of the day, all problems are human problems. I mean, barring natural catastrophe, but even within those, it's how we deal with one another during things, because it's not if something's going to happen, it's when things happen every single time.
I want to take a moment to give a special shout out to Boulder Creek Retreat. They provided an incredible space for me and our guests to escape the noise, reflect, and recharge, while also creating the perfect environment for our collaboration. If you're looking for a place to elevate your leadership and foster deeper connections, Boulder Creek Retreat is a fantastic resource. Check them out at bouldercreekretreat.com and see how they can help you and your team grow stronger together. We talk a lot about this at SPKN, where we're talking about coaches used to be kind of in school. So they were usually PE teachers. They had the kinesiology teaching degree that dealt with actually interacting with human beings, as you pointed out. It's now become much more important where you played than where you studied. And the need for so many coaches has kind of led in that, kind of pushed it in that direction. And so just because you've played doesn't mean that you can coach.
No, it doesn't. And there are some people who have innate natural leadership abilities, but it's not across the board. It is not ubiquitous. They still need training in certain areas. But overall, that interaction of coaches that you're describing, all my football coaches in high school, I didn't play football, by the way. They were all.
Did you play any sports?
I was a martial artist from early on.
I love it.
Hitting things hard and getting hit hard.
That's the best of all athletes, I'm telling you.
Joyous. And Earth is a weapon.
Yes.
So, by itself. So, the coaches were all history teachers, and that we saw them all throughout the week to validate your point. And here's something I have come across definitely in my career in law enforcement and absolutely in my career post-law enforcement. Respect is not a virtue that is held high enough anymore.
Anywhere,
in any way, shape, or form. People do not respect each other, and that's a serious issue. And so you go from these young men and women coming in, and they don't necessarily respect their coaches. And you have the coaches on the other side not necessarily respecting the young men and women that are in front of them. And so a little bit of background story, gang task force. The number one thing that we had to keep in mind, as well as just U.S. Border Patrol in general, being a light agent, or whether you're a cop out there, whether you're EMT or anything, start with default respect. Because you don't have to agree with somebody, you don't have to sympathize with them, you don't have to, feel what they're going through, and you don't have to make it your own. No, in no way, shape, or form. But I will give somebody a basic modicum of respect to start off, and I swear to you, that basic premise has definitely saved my life more than once. With groups of individuals that are way more of them than I am. They're definitely really all spun up on a situation. But if I start with respect, that at least conveys, it's like, hey, he's giving me something, because this is what I learned on the gang task force. What does a gang member own definitively?
His identity.
Their self-respect.
Yeah.
It's the one thing. And if you take that away from them, you have taken the most valuable thing in their entire life. And then going forward to FLETC, when we were learning federal agent stuff, you know, they're hard on you, and they're hard on you on purpose, and that's rightly so. But I will never forget, we come in for our basic medical class, and I can't remember this individual's name. Great man, and we walked in here, and he purposely was the first guy that gave us, as an entire class, a lot of respect, and we never forgot it. It changed the game.
Funny how that works, isn't it?
And we hung almost on every single word he said to us because he was teaching us life-saving, right?
Yeah.
A really basic but fundamental skill. It had a huge impact on us as a class. You know, so I took that away from that. It's like, that should be standard across the board. So we need respect on both sides of the fence. And I'm talking whether you're a coach, whether you're in the C-suite, whether you're in leadership who's looking at the broad scheme of things. You need to have a baseline of respect for your people, and you need to demand and expect that from your people as well, and not placate to the lowest common denominator.